In this video, I'm going to show you the top 6 most common questions that Albertsons like to ask in their interviews and help you plan strong and confident answers to these. So let's look at what you need to do to pass an Albertsons interview. So the first thing is make sure you're on time. Do not be late to the interview. That could basically ruin everything. The next thing is dress formally and show them that you're taking this interview seriously. You also, of course, need to know the key facts about Albertsons, and in this video, I will show you the key facts that you need to take to your interview to show you've done some good preparation. Then you need to know the questions that Albertsons usually ask. And in this video, I will reveal the most common questions. And then the next thing is you need to plan good answers to these questions to show that you are well prepared and can give really strong, confident answers. So let's look at the first question. What can you tell me about Albertsons? Now, to answer this question, you need to first show them that you know the very basic facts. Then you want to show that you are prepared. If you're not well prepared for the interview, it will show and you're less likely to get the job. But then to maximize your chance of getting the job, actually try and impress them. If you bring really impressive facts to them, they will see someone who has really put a lot of work in and therefore is probably going to be a better hire. So let's look at how you actually answer this question. So the first thing is just say what it is. It is a grocery store chain. Then expand on it. So say that it's a grocery store chain that provides a large variety of in-store services. So there's things like bakery, there's a deli, a meat counter, produce department, a seafood counter in the majority of stores. So I would research what is present in the store that you're applying for and be confident in listing what the store is offering. They were a food and drugstore pioneer. So if you go back in history, the pharmacy and the grocery store were separate. Albertsons were the first to have a pharmacy within a grocery store, and they pioneered that, and that's one of the reasons why you see a lot of pharmacies associated with Albertsons locations. They aim to be very affordable and deliver great value. Their stores are between 50,000 to 70,000 square foot, so it's a good idea to remember that number, and it's a good fact to state in your interview. They have private label brands. Remember that Albertsons is part of a larger group and it owns things like Safeway. So some of their brands you may find in the store, and you'll find the big famous brands alongside brands that you can only get at Albertsons businesses. Then you can say that they were founded and are headquartered currently in Boise, Idaho, and that they have merged and bought a lot of other brands and grown in size and have lots and lots of different brands and are now part of Albertsons Companies, Inc. That is the parent company and the same name as this particular brand, but it owns lots of other brands, Safeway being the largest of the brands that they own. The original company started all the way back in 1939, where it was founded by Joe Albertson, and that's, of course, where you get the name of the store from. They also have the Albertsons Foundation that has raised a lot of money for very good causes, and you may want to talk about that in your interview, have a look at what they do, and talk positively about them. A top tip to help you show that you're really well prepared is take some time to read Albertsons Companies, Inc. annual report. It's sometimes called the Form 10K, and just by skim reading it and not reading every single bit, just flicking through it, you'll get a really, really detailed impression of the business, and you'll be able to say in your interview that you've taken some time to read this and you really understand what the company's offering. And then if you can really impress them with your answer to this, it's going to make the interview go so much better. So feel free to take loads of notes from this or to screenshot this particular section and try and remember as many of these as you can for the interview, and you'll be really confident in the interview. Let's look at another extremely important question, which is what times could you work at Albertsons? And there is right answers and there's wrong answers. The key is to basically go through what sort of things they want to hear. So they want to hear people that say yes. Remember, if they ask about a time, if they say, can you do a Saturday morning? It's because that is a time that they are actually looking for. They are asking these questions for a reason. And if you say yes, it's going to increase your chance of getting a job. If you say no, that is, of course, your choice. But remember, every time you say no when it comes to working hours, your chance of getting the job will go down. Then you want to show a can-do attitude. So you want to be saying, of course, yes, as much as possible, and trying to offer, on top of that, as much flexibility as possible. The more flexible you can be, the better you look as a potential hire. And then ultimately, you want to try to say what Albertsons want to hear. So we need to think about what would they like to hear. So let's look at some really great answers, and you want to try and say an answer as close to one of these as possible. So really the best answer would be to say, I would be available to work hours anytime within Albertsons store opening hours. So basically you could work anytime the store is open and do a variety of times. That would be the ultimate answer. Another thing you could say, if you're really flexible, you could say that I would be happy to work a variety of daytime, evening, and weekend hours. That would be another strong answer. If you're slightly more restricted and they do give you the specific times that they're looking for on a job advertisement, you could say, I am available to work all of the advertised hours and would be open to additional hours if needed. That would be a great answer as well if you can see specific times listed on the job advert. So that's how you answer that question. The next one, you want to have an example ready, and I'll give you some suggestions of what you can say once I show you how to approach this question. And that is, what is your biggest weakness? And you need to have one in mind before you go to the interview. It's also a good idea to have your biggest strength as well, because occasionally they ask about that too. So a good answer starts with the fact that you show that you know what to develop. You actually know what you're good at and you know what you're not good at. And so they want people that can be reflective and understand what they need to improve. You have to pick a real weakness. So don't go with a fake weakness or a nonsense weakness. Then you need to do something about it. In the interview, talk about what you could do to improve rather than why your weakness is a problem. And then the most important thing is it should not matter to Albertsons. It shouldn't be something that's important. So some bad answers might be something like, I'm way too much of a perfectionist, because that's not a real weakness and it won't be taken seriously. You could also say something like, I never wash, so stink so bad customers constantly make complaints about me. Well, you just lost the job. So the idea is, in this question, you need to say something that isn't going to put them off hiring you, that is not relevant and is something that, yes, it is a weakness, but it doesn't really matter for this job, and you just survive the question. When you do pick your weakness, I'll give you some suggestions of what you can say. All you say is, a key weakness I'm looking to overcome is, say what your weakness is. Don't talk about why it's such an awful weakness and has ruined your life. Just say what it is. Then go straight on and say, to overcome this weakness and develop, I hope to. Tell them what you're going to do about it and spend more time talking about what you could do to improve rather than why the weakness is such a big problem. Let's think about what weaknesses would be good for an Albertsons interview. So things like, I can only speak English. If you're applying to a location that is predominantly English speaking, that's not a huge weakness. It is a weakness, and it would be good to speak more than one language, but it's not a weakness that is likely to prevent you from getting the job. If you struggle with spelling complex words and you're not involved in any, for example, management, you're not writing reports, that's not going to be a problem. And also computers can spell check, which will help. That you could say that you need to develop my math. So if you're not great at that, but you're not using it in your job, that's fine. If you're not confident with public speaking, for example, if you're working on the floor of an Albertsons store, you're probably not giving speeches to hundreds of people. It doesn't matter, but it could be a genuine weakness. Or if you have difficulty delegating and you're not in a job that really requires any delegating, so you're not applying for management, that could be a weakness, but you have ambitions in the next 5 to 10 years to hopefully move into store management. So you need to develop your delegation skills to be effective with that. So that's how you answer it. Pick a good weakness, have it ready, and make sure it's something that's not important, and then think about how you could improve. And that's how you have a great answer. The next one is, why should we hire you? And what you want to have for this one is maybe a list of 5 or 6 reasons why you would be a good hire. So I'm going to give you loads and loads of reasons. Some of these will not mean anything to you and has nothing to do with you, but hopefully 5 or 6 of these will match your skills, your experience, and parts of your personality and your skill set, and so you can pick those. So let's look at some things you could say and try and pick at least 5 or 6 of these, and that is going to be your answer. So you could say you've got an outstanding attendance record. If you're someone that's always on time and never misses work, that's a good thing to mention. You could back that up as well. If you've got extensive customer service experience, so you've worked in lots of customer facing roles, you might have worked in a restaurant, you might have worked in another grocery store, you might have worked in a convenience store or a gas station, you could have worked loads of places, and you've got lots of experience working with customers. That's great experience. Tell them that. That you could say that you're a team player, that you're highly reliable, that you're hardworking, that you've got previous grocery store experience, that you can do the job confidently. That's a really simple one. I can do the job confidently. That's a good thing to say. I love working in retail. Be really positive. I'm a fast and efficient worker. I'm easy to work with. You're someone that's easy to get on with. You don't cause trouble. You're going to be a nice, pleasant employee. That you're someone who learns quickly. That you're receptive to feedback. So you actually listen to what managers are telling you, and you might have examples of times where managers have helped improve your work and you're really thankful for that. And you could say, to round it off, that you're committed to excellent customer service, that is part of who you are and you really care about delivering good service, and that's what you're going to be able to do at Albertsons. So think carefully, pick 5 or 6 of these, and that's going to be a good start to why they should hire you. Another question that they really like asking for obvious reasons is, can you tell me about your previous experience? And a bad way to do this is simply to brainlessly list every single job that you've had and then move on. That's part of the answer. Telling them what jobs you've had is important, but you have to do more than that. So just as a start, you'll give your job titles. And by that, I mean your full job titles. Don't cut it down, give them the full job title. But importantly, when you're telling them what job you had, tell them what your responsibilities are and what you learned from that job. Then you want to focus on grocery, retail, and customer service. So you don't have to give all your jobs in order going back in time. Bring up the most relevant and the most useful experience, and then talk a lot about that, and then mention briefly other experience. So anytime you've worked in customer service, retail, or grocery, that is the best experience and you want to highlight that. You then say any qualifications or training that you've done, because that's something that helps convince them that you've got more knowledge and more experience. They may ask why you left your last job, so have something positive about why you're leaving that job, and never ever say anything negative about a previous employer, because that goes down very badly. And relate back to Albertsons. So say that you had a job working in a restaurant and you spent a lot of time dealing with customers, you managed customer complaints, you delivered great service, and you were a valued member of the team in that restaurant, and that this is the sort of skills that you can bring to Albertsons, that you've got experience in the things that you expect to experience at Albertsons from previous jobs, and that's going to help you be an effective employee. That's a great way to talk about it. Some other things you could say is that I have significant relevant experience. So you could start the answer, if you're confident you've got lots of good work experience, just say straight away, I have significant relevant experience, and then explain your experience. You could say I've got extensive customer service experience, which is really great experience. That you could say I'm confident in working in a grocery store because I've had these jobs working in grocery stores before. That you've gained customer service experience. So if you've not got extensive and lots of experience, talk about the fact that you've gained customer service experience in some other roles. Maybe you've been mentored by excellent managers. So if you've got a job in the past where you worked with a really great manager, you could say, while working at this company, I had a really brilliant manager who made a big impression on my career, and they helped me learn this, and they really helped with all these other things. And you've got to explain how that manager was so brilliant, and that can help show that you've gained some great experience from someone that is highly experienced, pulling you up the way. And then my top tip is you really try to convince them that you can do the job. That's the whole point of this interview, is to show that you can do the job and you're going to be a good hire, and use this as a place where you can convince them that if you're hired to do the job, you can do it because you've got great experience, and be confident in all the experience you have, and that helps go down positively. And before we finish, they could ask in the interview, do you have any questions to ask us? And you've got to have questions. If you say, no, I don't have any questions, that's very negative. Let's think about some good things that you could ask and have 2 to 3 questions ready. So you could say, could you tell me what the next steps in Albertsons hiring process are, and find out when you'll learn if you got the job and when you'll get feedback. And then you could say, is there anything that you would suggest a new hire to Albertsons do prior to starting to ensure they are well prepared for starting if successful? And if they suggest things that you could do to be prepared, make a commitment to doing those things. You could say, can you tell me more about the team you have at Albertsons and how the role I've applied for fits into this team? Find out more about your role, be really enthusiastic about it, and be really interested to learn about the people you're working with and the organization. You could say, personally, what do you enjoy most about working at Albertsons, and what attracted you to the company? And when they suggest what they like about the business, agree with them. Show that you're really passionate about that, and link that to part of your reason why you want to work here. And then finally, make sure you do thank the interviewer sincerely for their time, and end the interview in a positive. Things that you must not ask about is holidays, taking time off, delaying start date, or moving to another store, or even trying to negotiate your pay before you've even been offered a job. These are things that will go down very negatively and are best avoided. So I hope this was helpful to you. Post in the comments what questions Albertsons asked to help everyone else out. Please like and subscribe. And finally, thank you very much for watching.